Last night, as a child in my house, practiced chanting Torah. She's up at camp right now with other members of the youth group Lasky Arts Retreat. As she practiced reading Torah, I did what a rabbinic mother might do, or perhaps a rabbinic father. You probably have more self-restraint, Rabbi Mace, than I do. I tried to explain what was going on in the verses she was chanting. She was chanting about 3 men coming to Sarah and Abraham's tent. Abraham runs out to meet them, offers them food, drink, a place to rest, and even an option to wash their feet. Said child did as an RK, a rabbi's kid, or maybe just a teenager might do. She assured me that this translation was much more interesting to me than to her. But the topic stayed with me as she went on with her chanting. It's a familiar portion, familiar to many of us, but those words stuck with me, perhaps because of the contrast with so many things going on in our world. Abraham, you see, is regarded as the paradigm of hospitality, or in Hebrew, hachnasat orchim. He doesn't wait for his guests to get to him. He runs out to greet them. He invites them in, I guess if you call going to the tent in. He offers them the best. Of course, he outsources it to Sarah, but he says, go get the finest flour. He didn't bake so well. He asks Sarah to make cakes of the finest flour. These men are said to be malachim, or divine messengers, what we might call angels, though angels brings up other sort of more pop culture connotations. They are divine messengers who have a purpose. Jewish tradition says malachim have a single purpose in their interactions on earth. Abraham didn't necessarily know that they came from God, at least there's some disagreement in that. He saw people approaching him, and he did what he would do, what for him was right and good. He went out to greet them. Many of us here, I know, think about hospitality, whether we welcome others into our homes, whether we're guests in other people's homes, or we reflect on our experiences, maybe in the work world, in our travels, and in so many places, from doctors and other professionals' offices to retail establishments. We know what it's like. You know that feeling when you walk into someone's home and you just feel at ease, you feel welcome? We also know what it feels like when it's really awkward, discomfortingly so. Some of those there's a lot that goes into those feelings, and some of it has to do with the attention paid by those who are or are not like Abraham, those who welcome us, greet us, talk to us, or engage us. In a fascinating book I read this summer called The Art of Gathering by a woman named Priya Parker. Priya Parker is a founder of something called Thrive Labs, which helps organizations and businesses create transformative gatherings. In this book, Parker discusses the realities of so many gatherings in our lives. Basically, she says, they're the same old, as the expression goes. We don't think enough, her premise is that we don't think about whether it's being a business meeting or a birthday celebration or a bar bat mitzvah or any number of events. She kind of covers the gamut. She does this more not in religious settings, but we don't think enough, she says, about purpose. And we rely about the same forms of doing things that we've been done forever, rather than saying X meeting, Y celebration, or Z life cycle event. Well, maybe it's different this year. Maybe the people are different. Maybe our goal is different. Instead, what we do, she says, is we follow the same category and we say, oh, we'll just do the meeting like it's always done, or we'll just do that celebration like it's always done. And she posits that we need to look differently and not just take on the same template. Yeah, it's a birthday celebration. Yeah, it's that staff gathering, but maybe we should do it differently. She said we should think seriously about our purpose and then let that purpose guide the structure of our gatherings. One of the examples she gives is an interesting and experimental courtroom in an impoverished neighborhood in Brooklyn. She points out, if you think about it, in a courtroom where you may have the judge sitting and looking down on those who are being tried, she said this is a courtroom that was set up in an old school building, in a room that has a lot of light, has the judge and litigants at eye level with one another. And in this particular courtroom, the judge might hand out a prison sentence, but more likely might be handing out some other kind of intervention, mediation, treatment, community service, and more options. And the goal was that the space and the gathering reflected the purpose. She also offers the examples of meetings, political forums, baby showers, weddings, even graduations in B'nai Mitzvah that we've done the same way again and again. She says we've repeated them over time so much that we become emotionally attached to the form long after it accurately reflects our values or the system of the people participating in it. Interestingly, and she's not Jewish, she advocates what she calls the Passover principle. What are the first thing we ask before the 4 questions? Manish Tana halayla hazeh mikol halayla. She doesn't say it in Hebrew, by the way. That is, she says we should think about why is this night or this day or this event different? What makes it different from the other things we do in our lives? And then we have to communicate this to others in the gathering. Many of us have done that. Think about those of us in the sanctuary who've changed, for example, our Passover seders as lots of small children are present. We've done that perhaps with birthday gatherings, with services, with meetings, and all sorts of things, with community happenings as we're involved in community involvement. Parker's insights are interesting. They're thought-provoking and worth considering for the big things in our lives. But I think they also apply to the little things that we might not call events or gatherings. In our morning liturgy, in our morning prayers, every day of the week is a passage that many of you are familiar with. Some cites from Talmud and Mishnah, and we call it Elu Divarim from the opening words. Elu Divarim points to some of those small but big actions that are easily taken for granted. I share with you some of the items on that list. It says actually, Elu Divarim, these are the things that are limitless, meaning we cannot do enough of them. Honoring our father and mother, engaging in acts of kindness, or what our tradition calls gimilut chasadim, welcoming guests, visiting the sick, providing for the bride and groom, accompanying the dead for burial, focusing during prayer, and making peace. These are the things that we can never do too much of. We can never do enough of, however you like to look at the cup being half full or half empty. They're acts of kindness, our tradition says, that are incumbent on all of us, whether we have influence or no influence, knowledge or no knowledge, means or no means. These are the things we're supposed to do as Jews. I'm sure as I read that list, many, if not all of us, made mental checklists, right? I did that last week, I did that last month, I did this today, or I could do a little more of that. However we marked off our personal list, and that's not the goal, frankly, to measure ourselves, I don't think that list is a surprise for any of us, because we've all done probably everything on that list, and they make a lot of sense. What is the purpose of those acts? Kindness, respect, peace. Simple, right? But not so simple. Our lives and our worlds change day to day, week to week. And so I challenge you and me this Shabbat. I invite us all to think about the purpose, to think about our intention with any of these acts of chesed, of kindness, and so many others. To do so, I will give a little warning, involves some self-critique, which none of us maybe like to do or may not be so comfortable. But the goal of doing so is to be kinder, more sincere, more present, and like Abraham, to welcome warmly. And let's face it, even if we're great at these things, we can all be better. So what do I mean? If you return to Parker's teaching, we can ask ourselves, am I really welcoming people well, whether it's at work, on the street, or right here at the Oneg Shabbat? Or do I just talk to the people I know and say a cursory hi, not really meaning it? Do I really comfort the mourner and accompany the deceased to their grave, or do I spend a lot of time chatting at the gravesite or catching up on the news? How about this one? How can I be respectful of my parents even when they challenge my patience? Or do I follow the Jewish teaching to seek peace and pursue it? That is, do I promote peace in my home, among my family members and my expanded family members, in my workplace? And do I actively pursue peace? Do I run after it? Or do I hear some conflict and just walk away and let others deal with the messy stuff, saying, it's not my problem? Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick. Do I really visit someone who's sick, recovering or isolated, or do I just say, I sent them a text? Do I say to them, tell me what you need, knowing they may not respond, or do I show up with dinner or a bag of groceries or just to keep them company? Make a difference with presence. Ultimately, these actions and so many more in our tradition are about chesed, about kindness. That phrase, gimilut chasadim, chasadim is the plural of chesed there. Chesed, according to Jewish tradition, is kindness. It's not earned. It's not something we do as a quid pro quo. We just do it because it's right and good. It's easy in these days, in this world, to be overwhelmed by acts of anger and hatred. It's a reflex, right, to yell back and respond with vitriol. Someone runs the stop sign, someone cuts us off on the highway, we read a headline, any number of things. It's tougher to be like Abraham and the Malachim, the angels who visited him, to come with a purpose of presence and kindness. Remember I said that our tradition teaches that Malachim, that divine messengers or angels each have a single purpose? Well, we don't really have a single purpose in our lives because we're kind of busy, but we certainly can bring that sense of purpose to others. We can act upon purpose with a meaningful visit or act, a word of kindness, a concrete helpful action, and indeed with our presence, with just being there, listening, sitting, talking. We can act in our world with the purpose of kindness, respect, and peace. Indeed, we can be malachim, messengers with purpose. So let us do just that, Shabbat, and in the days to come.